What's up, everyone? Welcome to Level 7. It is time for another episode of the Agents of Fandom podcast. I'm your host, TJ Zwarych, and we are talking today about The Witcher Season 4, now streaming on Netflix. Joining me today, we got my good friend, fellow agent, Jam. Thank you for being with us today, man, because I know you are going through it.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me. Look, man, like I just said off pod, I'm here to talk about some great things with some great people. So that always gives me some life back. But I am very medicated on penicillin with an ear infection and a sinus infection. I got my tea sweatsuit on, trying to sweat it out as much as possible, taking like 3 or 5 showers a day. So I've been out since Monday, but I'm here excited to, dive into this. We're not here to talk about how I'm feeling. We're here to talk about some great television, or at least what I think is great television.
Joining us as well, we got a friend of the show. We haven't seen him in a while, but we are happy to have him back. Matt Aguilar, how you doing, my friend?
Doing good. So glad to be here. You are I tune into y'all's shows every single week, and apologies for all the random comments that I throw into the mix because it's just fun. But you're one of my favorite shows every single week, so love it. Love what you guys are doing.
Couldn't appreciate that more, my friend, and we thank you. And everyone who is listening, to hit the like button if you're watching us on YouTube. Subscribe on YouTube wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a nice 5-star rating and review. And Matt, I'm so excited to chat with you because it's been a long time, and outside of The Witcher, I have absolutely no idea what you've been watching. And so I want to know what you've been watching, what you've been. Feel free to extend it to reading, playing, listening to, if there's a new band you want to shout out, but what you've been watching.
Yo, that Demi Lovato album is fire. Just putting that out there is fantastic. Right now, it's K-pop Demon Hunters, because constantly it's on. That soundtrack plays constantly in the car. Ember's a huge fan. Ember and her mom went and saw it in the theater when it came back. We have now seen this movie every single which way. I got my whole family on board. I'm just saying, I was the one that got shouted down on our Comic Book Nation podcast by non-believers, and then they all saw it and went, yeah, it's dope too. That's right. That's right. Fantastic. Right now, as far as playing, I'm actually locked in. I'm doing this thing where I'm trying to finish games because I have all these games that I've got a lot of hours into and then actually never rolled credits. So like this year alone, I finished Dragon Age, the Veilguard. I just wrapped up Star Wars Outlaws and all the DLC.
Especially Veilguard, though. I love Dragon Age Veilguard so much. I played through it fully twice. I
saw an article the other day that was like, man, it was like talking about like we're now in the retrospective era of Dragon Age Veilguard, where it's like people are like who slept on it the first time are kind of like, man, that was a good game. That was a great game.
It was incredible, and nobody bought it. Like, that was the thing, right? Is like nobody played it, but it's so good.
It's fantastic. Like, what an ending. Like, all the choices. Like, that was a traditional classic BioWare style ending. I loved it. By the way, again, Star Wars Outlaws had some rough bugs and stuff at launch, but like for the people who stuck around for even like a month later, they pretty much patched it all. Then they upgraded all these quality of life features, and then they released 2 stellar DLC packs. Like the Lando DLC is fantastic. The Hondo stuff, that game got slept on too, and no one bought it. And well, actually, a lot of people bought it, but Ubisoft had ridiculously stupid expectations for that. So now we're not going to get a sequel. That was a great game. So right now, I'm trying to finish up Assassin's Creed Shadows because I got a ton of time. I got like 70 hours into that thing, and I'm still like nowhere close. And the DLC just launched. And then Disney Dreamlight Valley. I'm trying to catch up. Me and Ember trying to catch up before the new DLC hits because Tigger's coming. Winnie the Pooh's coming to the game. I'm very excited for that. So yeah, that's pretty much. And then obviously The Witcher, The Rats, which we might touch on here. That's also hit. So yeah, lots of stuff happening right now, but a lot of great stuff. Oh, and Riftbound, the new League of Legends TCG just released, and I am playing that. And Disney Lorcana, all kinds of great stuff. So yeah, I'm everywhere.
I'm in a little gaming break after Pokemon Legends ZA. I haven't dove into anything else after completing that one. And I think the next up on my list is going to be Hades 2 on my Switch. I think that's the next one I'm going to be going with. But apparently there's this new Digimon game that hasn't released on Switch. It's only on like PlayStation, Xbox, PC, etc. And apparently it's incredible.
I've
Like
heard about this.
I was talking to our friend Klein from the Controller Club podcast, Reckless Rebellion podcast, works at the Direct as well, and he was like really saying that he had heard some really strong things about this game, but I had never played Cyber Sleuth, which is the game in this series of games that came out before this. So I think I want to try and quickly rip through Cyber Sleuth before I start playing any of the new Digimon game. And then in terms of watching, I watched Greyman for the first time yesterday, and that was one that
the Netflix one.
Yeah, that was one that slipped through the cracks for me just because I heard like a lot of negative reviews out the gate, and so I was like, okay, there's no rush to get to this. But it's a perfect example of like why you just watch what you want to watch and form your own opinions on it, because I really like that movie. Not spectacular by any means, like a lot of corny dialogue. Parts of the ending fell a little flat for me, but in general, I really like that movie. I thought it was a ton of fun. And so really recommend The Gray Man if you never gave it a shot. I watched Constantine for the first time. That was a movie with Keanu Reeves that I had not seen before. I just recently watched that one. And then today I watched The House of Dynamite, the new Netflix movie that is out. Incredible cast. Very, very interesting movie. Not a typical movie format that's giving you 3 acts with a beginning, middle, and an end. And I think it's going to leave a lot of people being like, what the hell just happened? But I think this is a movie that you want to go into knowing as little as possible. So I'm not going to dive into the plot, but definitely one that is worth checking out, because while it's not like a great film, it's a very, very, actually, I think it is a good film. It's not a good movie, but it's a good film. Like, it's a super interesting dive into what that situation that they're covering would be like. And it's basically just like a few different picture shots at what this would be like, as opposed to a full-on story. But so definitely check out that one. House of Dynamite is what it's called. Jam, how about you? What you been watching?
Honestly, I haven't been watching much of anything besides The Witcher. I've been more so addicted, and when I say like I really mean like addicted to Arc Raiders. The new game that just dropped on the 30th. I was gonna play it that day because it had like over 250,000 like people on Steam and like watching it on Twitch, and so I was gonna capitalize on that. But I was just like, I'll wait. Halloween is coming the next day, so I'll just check it out then. And when I tell you, I've played all Friday night, like up until 2 in the morning. All Saturday, I played I was like on from like 4 p.m. till like another 2 a.m. And then Sunday, I think I was on for like another 4 hours. And then these past 3 days, even at me being sick, I'm like, it's calling me. It's like the Green Goblin mask in No Way Home. It's just calling me back from my bed. It's like, hey, you want to go get into a raid? I'm like, I don't feel, I have the pressure in my head. I'm like, I can't. It's like, yes, you do. Go take a shower. Come on your raid. So that's kind of what I've been doing. Catching up on The Witcher. I got to see the day before Halloween on the 30th. I watched Don't Move, which was like one of those Don't Breathe like spinoff or something like that. I watched that. It was on Netflix. I checked it out. It was pretty interesting. I've been getting into a lot of a horror thing lately. And no, not just because it was Halloween, but I really feel like that Weapons made me realize I actually like the horror genre a lot more than I realized. So I've been just kind of getting to a horror thing, but that's really it. Honestly, it's been a lot of gaming. I took a break on. I know you're mad at me, TJ. I took a break. I put a pin in on Ghost of Yote. Once Arc Raiders came out, I was like, oh, this is it. So been a little break on Ghost of Yote, Arc Raiders, The Witcher, which I'm super excited to talk about, and then a couple like Netflix movies here and there. But that's really it.
We're excited to talk about The Witcher, so let's talk about The Witcher. We won't dive into spoilers for season 4 yet, just in case anyone is joining us because they wanted to come hang out and they haven't seen the show yet. We appreciate you. We'll give you the spoiler warning. Hit that like button. Tell your friends. But Matt, I want to talk about kind of where your interest in the series started. Were you a book fan, a video game fan, a TV series fan? where did your Witcher fandom begin, and what does this franchise mean to you?
So I actually started with The Witcher. I really got into The Witcher with The Witcher 2 via the games. And then when I discovered that, I was like, oh, this is amazing. And then I really then dove into the books because I'm a book reader at heart. I love kind of the, novel source material type thing. And also, look, I mean, as great as games and movies and TV are as mediums, they always have to cut things because there's just, you can do things in a book and you can go into detail on things that you can't do in mediums. And then I became a massive fan of the books. And then at that point, coinciding, after I kind of went through the series, I burned through it pretty quick. And then Witcher 3 is one of my favorite games of all time. That is a fantastic game. And then at that point, then it was just like, oh, we're getting a show and we're getting all this stuff and we start getting spinoffs and it's great. But like the books are while the game was how I discovered it, the books are my kind of essentially my first love. Like those are the ones that really grabbed me into the world. And it's just such a cool world. It's dense. I know like sometimes that's like me and Kofi all the time go back and forth. Like there's a lot of backstory and lore there and history, and it can kind of get heady. But like, man, I love that stuff. So books kind of first and then the games. And obviously they've kind of departed in terms of, there's a lot of elements from the books that they use in the games, but then they kind of tell their own stories and things like that. And so, yeah, then everything came after that. But if for those who haven't checked out the books, I would absolutely recommend that you give them a shot because there's some really cool stuff there.
I've yet to check out the books, but definitely something that is on my eventual list. I was late to the Witcher game, but I had like a similar story as you, but through different mediums. So my introduction was scrolling through Netflix, needing something to watch. What do I watch on Netflix? And then I find it and I'm looking at it and think, okay, this hits all, I hadn't heard of it before, but I was looking at it like this hits all of the genres that I'm interested in. I'll give this a shot. And I liked the first season. And then I found the video game, The Witcher 3, The Wild Hunt.
Such a good game.
And my God, it's incredible. I think it is my favorite game of all time. It's definitely my favorite game I have played on the PS5 since I bought a PS5. It's just so incredible. I played it with the DLCs start to finish 5, 6, 7 times, trying to just have like a different story alteration each time. I love that you can make choices that directly impact the story and affect the quests that you go on. Like that is my favorite type of game. The action is so good. The stories are so good. If you're a big old gooner, you can go in a brothel for a day and just you just do whatever you want in there. You just have yourself a jolly good time. And like there's everything in that game. You can hunt, you can go on side quests that turn into things that feel like main story missions. It's just so incredible. I can't wait for The Witcher 4 to come out. That is my most anticipated game, I think, since Spider-Man 2. Easy, and so yeah. I'm really excited for that one to come out. Jam, how about you? Where did you discover this franchise? Where did your fandom start?
My honest fandom was the show as well. I was actually excited because I knew of The Witcher, like the games, and I tried out I think the third one. I tried it out, but I have an issue with playing older games like once they come and go. If I'm like not in it, like once the game is there, it's very hard for me as graphics evolve and things like that to go back. So I tried it out like the first few missions and I was like, yo, this game is absolutely phenomenal. And I feel like I will get way more invested in this than I forgot what was coming out at the time. I think it was like Horizon Forbidden West or something like that. And I love that franchise. I was like, I'll put a pin in this and get back to it later. I never got back to it. But then when I remember Henry Cavill was casted as The Witcher, I was like, oh, I like him. I was like, so I'm going to watch this. And I wound up loving it. I don't know. I like fantasy stuff. I like, like that type of realm. So I wound up loving the show. I know there's a lot of discourse online between the show, the books, and the game, but I overall just loved the series so much. So when Netflix did the next animated like movie, I think it was The Sirens of the Deep, and I was just like, I love this too. And I think me personally, that's another realm that I would love to see them explore, is maybe do more Witcher stuff animated as well. So yeah, I started with the show just like you, Teach.
Nightmare of the Wolf is like fantastic. The animated Vesemir one, like even
Great.
if you don't watch the show, you should go watch that. That's awesome. That's fantastic.
Let's start diving into this season and just the TV show as a whole, because Matt, as somebody who played the games first, who read the books first before seeing the show, I'm very interested in your take on how each of these seasons have evolved, because if you want to dive in, it's all over the internet. There's all kinds of behind the scenes mess with this show, from the creative team to to Henry Cavill and him wanting things to be a very specific way, to eventually him leaving, and now Liam Hemsworth taking on the role of Geralt of Rivia. What have been your thoughts on the series as a whole? Very different storytelling styles with each season, from bouncing back and forth to timelines to keeping it pretty streamlined as things move on. This one was a very split. Here are 3 different stories ongoing at the same time. Go. What have been your thoughts on the series as a whole? And then take me into your spoiler-free thoughts on The Witcher season 4.
So season 1 was very much we had a chance to talk to the showrunner Lauren Hisrich about like adapting such a dense book, because like there is a lot of lore, there's a lot of mythology, especially once you start getting into like the spheres and all that stuff. When you start diving into the history of the world and stuff, there's just a lot there. And so the choice of going back and forth in time so much in season 1 was divisive, and like that was the main critic point. Like if there was a main critical point of the series in season 1, it was that it kept bouncing around. You didn't know what time you were in, which version of this character is talking and all that, and that was a little messy. And so I was always like, yes, but if you can get past that and you can kind of, it did start to coalesce towards the end. I was like, if you can get an idea of that, it is a good foundation starter. And they covered a ton of ground with that season. That's why season 2 to me kind of stands out as like probably the, and we'll get into what I think of season 4, but like up until season 4, it was my favorite season, because like you got all that out of the way, and now you could just be in the present for the most part, be in the world. You got to know these characters, and then you just kind of start following everybody. And it has been messy. There's a part of me that like kind of, some of it is just internet mentality. I feel like some of it is, we've seen the same thing with the Snyder stuff. We've seen the same thing with like the jump between when we went from Snyder to Gunn, and everyone was bagging on Superman. It felt like everything was releasing was like, oh my gosh, this is not it. And then I feel like over time, people, and then obviously when people saw the movie and stuff, it started to shift, but you still get a lot of that because it's a change. Some of that is inherent with Henry Cavill to Liam Hemsworth, and some of that is messy and feels, just because it's not Henry Cavill, that's going to be, you hate it. There's a little bit of that as part of this discussion. It's unfortunate because I remember writing all the stories when season 1 was hitting and all the pre-production stuff came out, and there was a giant discussion and debate of, oh my God, Henry Cavill's wig looks terrible. He doesn't look, how do you make a person that looks amazing look ugly? How do you do it? I remember all that discussion. I remember like, oh my gosh, they're going to butcher the books and they're going to do this. And that's been the case every step along the way, even in season 2 and season 3, which are rated higher. Those criticisms have never left. And it was kind of like, they kind of made Cavill to be this saint. And I understand that because he's a huge fan of the franchise, but also dude wanted to go play Superman, and dude wanted to go play in the Warhammer universe. So you have to like, it's not, I don't feel like everything's on a flat, even playing field. There's a little bit of a skewed perception that people are just kind of, well, we like him, so and it's like, that's unfortunate. And so it's just a weird discussion to get into. And then you get, the original author of the books weighing in, and that throws everything else into a tizzy. So it's just, there's a lot going on there. That said, I think what I have loved about the show to this point is that there's actually a lot of the books here. They do actually, I think, a pretty good job of streamlining a lot of things, cherry picking what they want and what makes a good TV show. Because at the end of the day, I agree with the showrunner. You're making a TV show based on a book. You are not necessarily remaking the book. If you go into a project saying you want to remake the book, great. But if you want to just make a TV show based in this world and take what you feel like are the core beats, I think the show does that. And I think it does it pretty well. And so I always kind of look at that with a little bit of a skewed thing of like, but there's a lot here from the books. And like, I've been very open. My favorite, Yennefer has been a beloved character from the books and the games. And in the games and in the books, I never understood why. Because I don't like the character. I never understood it. I was always Triss. Triss in the games for life. I love Triss Marigold. That character is like, I was like, why would you go with Yennefer? She's constantly talking crap about you. She treats you like crap. She leaves constantly. Why would you do that? And then the show made me like Yennefer. The show has actually made me a Yennefer fan. And same way across the board, like Ciri's great in all of the in different iterations, but like I don't like the Triss in the show, right? So they all have their yin and yang, like they give and take, and some things, and like the showrunner recently said, like the book still exists, the game still exists. I like things from all of them. If I were to create my ultimate dream Witcher scenario, I would pick things from all of them and they would all have a home there. So needless to say, that's kind of my take on the whole discourse leading up to this. As far as season 4, I think this is my it's up there with season 2. This is my favorite season of The Witcher, right alongside season 2. And the reason why is that, like, and it has nothing to do with Cavill, because there are elements of Cavill's performance that I enjoy more than Hemsworth and vice versa. But I just think as a television show, in the past seasons, it's always felt like there was one really great story and then 2 stories that were like compelling at times, but then felt like filler. They felt like they weren't up to the same level as that main story. And so when you weren't with that main story, it felt like, okay, what are we doing here? We're spinning our wheels a little bit. Why are we spending a whole episode here? That kind of thing. In this episode, or in this season, I don't feel like there's that gap. I feel like Ciri's individual journey is compelling with the rats and all that. I feel like what Yennefer is doing might even steal the show and is probably one of the most important through lines in the entire season. And that's compelling unto its own. And then what Geralt and the Hansa are doing is compelling and enjoyable. And I enjoy being with them. And when they cross paths, it's great. But like, I enjoyed all 3 arcs unto themselves. And I have not been able to say that about a previous season. So I just think like that has really made me, this was an enjoyable season of TV. And it made me really excited for season 5, because now we got the whole recasting out of the way. So now we can just play in the world, right? We can mess with the toy box. So that's kind of where I stand. How do you guys feel?
This season to me did feel very like transition season, almost like a pilot to a new TV show season kind of thing, of like, let's recap everything that has happened and let's get all the pieces in place to where they need to be for the future story, so that in season 5 we can really hit the ground running with this new team and you don't have to worry about it anymore. Season 4, we're going to give you a few of the classic things you love. We're going to really dive into the monster aspect, and we're going to give you some of your beloved things, just so that you're not mad about these changes. But then we're going to weave some of these changes in. And I think this was a really good season of television, where I differ from you a little bit, as I think I was very invested in the Yennefer storyline. I was very invested in the Ciri storyline. I found Geralt's storyline to be enjoyable, but not compelling. And we'll dive into, I'll dive into that when we get into spoilers. But there was a specific part of his story that kind of took me out of it all the time. And so we'll get into that. Jam, I know you have very, what's the word I'm looking for? I was going to say high hopes, but not high hopes, because you already saw it and you liked it. You have praise, high praise. That's the word I was looking for this season. Give me your spoiler-free thoughts.
Yeah, man. The first thing I always think about when I think about the rest of the series is I wanted more action. Because when I played the game, I'm like out here swinging a sword and doing magic, and then it's like, where is that in the show? You know, like you get it here and there, but I just didn't feel like I got to see Geralt be him who he is, the Witcher. And so this season, them starting, little spoiler here, but that recap, like you mentioned, to get Liam in the role, I'm like, okay, they're doing all action sequences and a little bit of plot here and there through Ciri and Yennefer. And then we get to like the
While
first
showing his face as little as possible.
as little as possible, yeah. And then we get to the first scene, and I'm like, oh, we're coming out swinging. Like they're coming out immediately swinging. And I thought for the first scene, it really set the foundation of where I thought the rest of the season was gonna go. It was really action heavy for me, and I'm a big dweeb when it comes to anything action. It could be the worst movie in the world, but as long as it's great action, or great, it could be the worst show in the world, but as long as it's action and good action, I'm there. And I think that's what this really got for me. I was really invested more so in just seeing all of them, Ciri, Geralt, and Yennefer, do so much, and really see this Netflix budget shine a little bit with with the visual effects. You know what I mean? Overall, though, when it comes to the three like stories, I actually really liked it because to me, even though they were all separate, I thought that they intertwined into a compelling season of television throughout the course. And like you said a little bit, it really did feel like filler. But sometimes, as an anime fan, I'm okay with that, like that beach episode. Me and Dennis at the alternate timeline talk about it all the time. But in anime, you have a beach episode. Every anime has like some type of beach episode, and they're not doing anything but just hanging out on the beach, and like some shenanigans happen. And that's what I feel like this season was. It was like stuff was happening that's gonna get you back invested in the
It was
story.
that like I'm because I'm with you 100%, and I hate how people have changed filler episode into a critique, like as if that's like bad. And your issue isn't that there's a filler episode. Your issue is that streaming services are giving us 6-episode seasons of television. That's what you're actually mad about. And so I hate that it's been turned into like a negative. But to me, not for Yen, because Yen's story was, I think, very important for moving the plot forward. But Ciri and Geralt's stories were very filler, and not in a bad way. Not in a bad way, but just very much like we need to have them in a certain place by the end of it. So let's go through some adventures because their story is not going to move as fast paced as Yen's is. We're just going to go through some things, show you some monster hunting, show you Ciri with her new crew, to kind of make sure you're having fun. And then when Yen's is on, this is the one that's going to like hook you and keep you invested. That's kind of how I took it.
I also feel like Yennefer's story it's kind of like how I always looked at some of the earlier MCU projects after Endgame. Like to me, Loki was the show that moved the overall franchise forward, whereas WandaVision was just that emotionally driven story focused on that character. And I feel like with Geralt and Cersei, that's what they were WandaVision, whereas Yennefer's story was Loki. I'm pushing the overall story or show of The Witcher, moving it forward. And so that's kind of how I looked at it, which is why I wound up loving Yennefer's story the most, because we're going somewhere, we're getting something, the big war, all of this is happening. And whereas, like you said, Geralt's, I'm more so invested because it's action and it's monster hunting and it's like the things I wanted to see from him. But Cersei's stuff, I felt like it was really, I don't want to say too compelling. I don't know. I think they were trying to hit me a little bit in the feels more than I think they actually did. But it still was a good balance, if that makes sense. Like I think that they grabbed me a little bit emotionally, but I also would have liked to see more. That's really all I think about the overall like series. This is season though.
Full spoilers on the table for The Witcher season 4 on Netflix. If you haven't seen it yet, get out of here, press pause, join us after the fact. Make sure you hit the like button first though. Jam, what do you think about Liam Hemsworth as Geralt of Rivia, and dive into, within like the context of spoilers now, talking about his fight, some of that favorite action for you. How did you think Liam Hemsworth did as Geralt of Rivia?
Listen, man, I know I told you guys that I only started watching this because I liked Henry Cavill. That was like one of the major grabs for me. And I think Liam Hemsworth, unfortunately, I hate to have this hot take, but I think he did better this season than all 3 seasons of Henry. Personally, I don't really know what to
Good
grab back. Because again, I'm not like you guys. I haven't played the games. Matt, I haven't read the books, so they're actually on my list. So I don't really know what to compare it to besides, you know, Liam. And watching Liam, there's certain things that maybe Henry did it better, but I just felt like I appreciated from Liam a little bit more. I think his demeanor, like the tone of his voice, even just, that's something Henry can't control, right? But I felt like his tone of voice in Liam, I felt like, okay, I don't know what I'm gonna compare this to, but that feels more like Geralt. It's more of like a calming, but I am still imposing voice. It's like a really fine balance where I felt like Henry's just always felt imposing. There was never no calming behind it. It was never anything that could make me feel safe. Whereas Liam's kind of feels a little bit more empathetic. The action sequences.
Cavill's is a very cold, and that's like the way I would describe it. Is Cavill's is cold, Hemsworth's is warm. And I
Yeah,
don't necessarily know which one of those is better. It's just different. One is cold and one is warm to me.
yeah, and the action sequences with Liam, like again, that first, I don't want to say it was just Liam. Obviously, that's all fight choreography and things like that. But
Mhm.
because there was so much of it where we didn't, it felt like we got more this season than we did all 3 seasons combined with Henry. So it just felt a little bit more fluid with Liam. A lot of the things that they did made me like. I mean, I text you. I was like, it just felt seamless. The way they transitioned it with the recap and everything. Um, I want to say my favorite action sequence though is full spoiler here is when he was fighting that troll like
Oh
in that
yeah, the
little
Battle
alley thing.
Bridge.
Yeah, that was I wasn't expecting him to go crazy like that, and he looked like that was the moment I was like, "Oh, you are scary." Like The Witcher itself as a character is very scary. I could see why humans in that world would be terrified of you because you're literally just a guy with a sword. Well, we know he's not, but a guy with a sword. And you're fighting this giant, and he made the troll look like it was nothing. And then afterwards, he just blows the fire away, like to let the horses, like the knights come through. And I was just like, dude, like so good. Like that's one of those things where, like I said, the Netflix budget was just it was good, man. That production budget had me like, I love this. Like y'all killing it.
That's the biggest change that I noticed to Geralt this season. Honestly, wasn't even with the recast. It was, oh, this boy's remembering that he can use some magic. He's got his signs and he got these spells that he has kind of forgotten that he has access to over the last 3 seasons. And I don't know if that was a Henry Cavill thing, but he was really had no problem letting out the Axie fire and just all of his different signs throughout the whole season. And I think we saw most of them. I think we
Yeah,
saw most of them throughout the season as well, which was really, really cool. I thought the one part that Liam didn't quite do for me as well, I thought it was like a good recast, even an upgrade for almost everything except for the voice. The voice to me was where he had it almost all the time. And then there are certain lines of dialogue, especially when he gets like ramped up and he's not keeping it down here, but he's actually like raising his voice a little bit. It's like, man, I heard Thor. I just heard Thor. I'm sorry, I heard your brother. I heard your brother there. That was an Australian man playing Thor. And so there was a couple of times that it slipped from Geralt to Thor to me, but other than that, I thought he did a really great job. Matt, talk to me about what you thought of Liam Hemsworth, and then also some of the story, not just character changes, but some of the story changes to season 4 as well, because I feel like there was a lot of things we saw here with Vesemir's death, and if I'm not mistaken, Kira's death, that are taking a very different story direction than both the book and the game does with those characters. And then on top of that, I really thought that this season, with from the characters they introduced to the characters they talked about to the way Geralt fights to how often he uses his signs, it felt like they were really trying to infuse the game into this season of The Witcher that they hadn't previously.
well, I think I love that you pointed out the signs because even and between this and the Rats prequel, I saw more signs than I feel like I saw throughout the entirety of like the past 2 seasons. I mean, I think that's why going back to like which monster fight was my favorite. I think that's why the Night Wraith is my favorite because he uses he's using Ard, he's using Yurden. He's when he does the magic trap, that's why the Wraith can't move. And that's why he's able to make it physical so he can swing at it and all that. Like that was like, oh, that's how a Witcher approaches a fight. That it's every time. Also, you know, tonics and potions are like used a lot here, like every fight, and that's exactly why like you're trained both in the books and in the games. Like that's a regular routine. Like that's how they even the odds between them and in many ways a superior foe. That's how they do that. So the fact that like we were using that so much, the shield gets used a lot, and I love that the being using you know, Axion the sword and make again like utilizing it in different ways is cool, right? I get mad when Green Lantern writers or Green Lantern show people only use the beam and an orb, and I'm like, seriously, you have the most powerful weapon in the universe. Why are you being so not lazy? I hate to say lazy, but why are we going to like two things? We can make boxing gloves and jets and all kinds of stuff. Why are we doing that? It's the same thing here. I like when we're seeing that in play because it makes them feel like a full-on Witcher. And I agree with you. For me, it was the delivery. That's what sets Hemsworth apart. You know, I don't think, and I said this before, I don't think anything from a human fight perspective will ever top, or it's going to be hard. It could be topped, but it's going to be difficult to top that Butcher of Blaviken fight we saw in season 1. That Cavill fight is phenomenal. That's the one where he's just mowing down people in the city, and like the axe gets thrown, and it's the crispness in his movements. Like Cavill just does that so well, and that whole sequence is phenomenal. That said, I love the monster fights in this. I went back and watched some of the older ones with Cavill in the role, and even the Kikamura fight, which they expound upon here, because you see that it didn't just end with the big one. It was a bunch of little ones, and then there was a tiny baby one, which I actually felt kind of bad for. But like, there's all those, and that fight I thought was actually better, and I thought it was better choreographed, but also just like Liam looked great in the role, and also it was one of those things where when you play the games, right? And TJ, like you in Wild Hunt, Geralt speaks. He's not just grunts. And he doesn't just drop F-bombs. He talks a ton. For people, and in the books, it's the same way. Now he's gruff and he has that, but like, dude talks a ton. There's so much dialogue from Geralt in the games. And so it was always like, well, why isn't he talking? That was a running thing of like there was a montage of grunts from Cavill in the first season. Netflix put it out, right? It was just like, oh, it's funny. And yes, that's a part of it, but like he's allowed to actually be a character, and he interacts with people. That's what makes him one of the most unusual Witchers, is that he's so actually semi-social. He's empathetic. That's why people are marvel at him, because like you're supposed to be someone who turns off your emotions all the time, and that's why people view you Witchers without a soul and view them so what, because they don't interact, and he does. That's what makes him stand out. It's like Angel with a soul, right? Like that's why he's different. So why don't you lean into that? And I thought Hemsworth captures that in such a great way. He is warm in a way. He's still intimidating. Some person just wouldn't walk up to him necessarily without any context. But like in any of those exchanges with Regis, you see how like someone can take a liking to him. There's something, there's an aura there. And I just thought Hemsworth tapped into that in a very different way, and I enjoyed it. And I thought that's part of what made his thing compelling. And it doesn't hurt that he has like, you know, Zoltan and a bunch of people that I love. And as far as the story changes, you know, I mean, look, obviously Vesemir is the big one. Kira, not so much, because it's a big change, but like she hadn't been utilized in the show like she is in the books. So like, and even in the game, I
honestly only noticed that one because you really notice if you don't have Kira for the Battle of Kaer Morhen in the video game, right? She makes a big difference. So as soon as she died, that was my first thought. It was like, no, we need her.
Right. And she's huge in the games. I mean, there's a whole DLC, like, and there's a whole mission structure built around that character. And I actually love that whole mission sequence, right? So like, that's huge if you played the game. So that one, I feel like if you played the games, that one's gonna sting more. But she hasn't really been utilized in the show much at all. So the fact that like she's gone was like a way to hit you with someone that has a name, but is gonna make you feel something, but isn't necessarily like so detrimental, right?
It works. Whereas, for me that, hey, don't think you know what's going on.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
like subvert your
Exactly.
expectations. This is a new story. Dive into it.
Right. But I mean, obviously Vesemir's a different story. And he was also recast. And I thought number one, I thought that he came in and did a great job. And I'm blanking on the actor's name, but he stepped in for Kim Bodnia, I believe was the previous actor's name. He stepped in and he did a bang up job, and he actually had more to do. Right, he had a whole action sequence and all kinds of stuff. But that one hits because I was personally okay with it. It's a bummer because that character is such a beloved, both in the books and in the games. He's such a beloved character, and he's a mentor. But I thought that is what made this one okay, is that it kind of felt like, well, yeah, if your father figure ran into the person that beat up your son, what would you do? And it's like, as a parent in a mentor like way, he really
And is
is
trying
kind
to
of a
kidnap
parent.
your granddaughter.
Right. Yeah, I got this. I'm gonna go handle this, right? And he knows he might be outclassed. It doesn't matter, because he even says it midway. He's like, I'm gonna give you a fight, right? He knows he might die because he's going up against a dude that's just like owned one of the best witchers around, right? So, and I love that they actually made him, in wrestling terms, it wasn't a squash. Vesemir got hits in. He stabbed him. He did some, like, he really did some damage. And so I love that. And it was heartbreaking, but to me, it was logical. It made sense why you would do that. Because yeah, if you're in the same building, you couldn't keep me from someone. I don't care if I'm outmatched or not. I'm gonna go, like, you hurt my child. So, like, yeah, I very much was okay with it. I know it's a departure. All of Ciri's powers, there's a lot of stuff which will probably come in season 5 that we're really gonna get into crazy Ciri power space. But, like, parts of that, like her screaming things, none of that's in the books, but it was a natural progression of things. So I've been mostly okay with the changes made here and there. Do I still prefer how the book laid it out? Yes, but you also had multiple books to tell that story, and it's fine. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel.
I agree with actually everything you just said. The one point that I want to add with the Vesemir thing,
No one
though,
ever
I
says
like...
that, so that makes me feel immensely special.
I'm a lot nicer than Kofi.
No one ever says that.
I agree with everything you just said, though. But the one point that I differ is I like what the Vesemir did thing with the story. I felt like it fit with the story. I don't like how it kind of got glossed over with Geralt. Yennefer was like, Istrid just died. No. Oh yeah, shit. Vesemir too. Geralt, Vesemir died. Sorry, but Istrid. And I was like, I mean, come on. We need Geralt should get a little. I get he's a Witcher without, those emotions aren't readily available for him to access. But a little bit of a closure moment would have been, I think, pretty cool. That I don't think we got there. Jam, Matt and I knew as soon as we were introduced to Regis, we knew exactly who and what this guy is. That's kind of what I was referring to when I was like, game characters, right? We got Zoltan in this season. We got Regis in this season. We got Avalach brought up and talked about in this season. They're really diving into some of, like, the stories, the characters that hadn't been introduced yet. What did the Regis reveal do for you? Like, take me through your thought process of what's going on when this character is introduced to it's revealed that he's not just a vampire, but he is a powerful vampire.
I was super hyped that it was Lawrence Fishburne. I was like, yo, what the hell is Lawrence Fishburne doing in here? I was like, I didn't know he was in this. Where was the marketing? Nothing. So when I seen that, I was like, cool. But I honestly, as the story was going on, and he was really there for Geralt. And I thought it was another Witcher for a long time. I was like, oh, this is another. He had to have refound his soul or found his purpose to be trying to just jump into the action when he's like, why would you give up a peaceful life? I'm like, you got to be having some connections there. And then when he revealed himself to be a vampire, I lost I was like, so does that mean we have to kill him now? Like, I didn't know how that worked. But what I will say is the animation changed to when he was telling his story. That was another bring me back to my take earlier. I'm like, I need more Witcher stories. I don't know how many there are. I don't know if there's like one just overall story. I'm not familiar, but I want more like shows or movies in animated,
Mm.
because after the Sirens of the Deep, the one that Matt brought up, and then seeing them do that in this live action series, I said I need it. So I thought that was really cool. But I thought Lawrence Fishburne was awesome, man. I thought he was really good, and I love that he played so deeply into the like connected to this newfound team. I also didn't expect him to turn into a vampire, and then they're like, "Oh, I guess we have to follow him." Like that was pretty sick. So I thought he was great. I really thought he was great. I didn't think he was. I thought he was gonna be like one of those 1 or 2 episode characters, like where they go to this place, like this brothel, or they go to this hotel and they stay there for a little bit, rest, like that recovery episode in shows, or like in anime. It's like you gotta go rest, recover, maybe train or get some new potions and tonics, and then you're on your journey. No, and he joined them on the journey. I was like, okay, this really, I don't know, this season, and adding on to Regis, this season really felt like a fantasy anime. Like that's how I looked at this overall season. I was like everything, like they were pulling out tropes. Like I said, him joining the team, the filler episode, or the filler feeling like a beach episode. All of that really hit the anime tropes. But with Regis, I think he was probably I want to say second or third favorite character in this, like overall in this season.
It's fun when Lawrence Fishburne pops up in nerd projects because he is a nerd too. Like he's a huge comic book fan. He loves all this stuff, and so I love getting to see him pop up in this stuff. And I agree that he's really, really great. And I don't think it's particularly close, but the Blood and Wine DLC for The Witcher 3, which Regis, the character, is a very like secondary main character of. That is like by far the best video game DLC I ever played, and it's not particularly close. It could be its own video game. It could totally just be its own video game. It is absolutely incredible stuff.
Yeah, they both could.
Yeah,
both of those DLCs. And Jam, if you are gonna jump in to, because like you've got to jump into this, I would say wait till early next year, because that's when the last update to the game is coming, and that's where they're going to enable all the PC mods for console, and like you want it to look awesome, tweak it, whatever, that's the one, and you can just jump in then, because like that's going to be the best time to jump in the game.
The Witcher 3 and Red Dead Redemption 2 are the two games that like graphics haven't bothered me even a little bit. Those are just two games that came out
Beautiful
for the PS3, PS4, whatever it was, that like just incredible every time. I could replay them forever.
Still gorgeous.
I was gonna replay that. I was not replay, but I was gonna play the first game, Witcher 3 all the way through, because the 4 is coming with Cersei, like right. So I was like, I wanna at least dive into this like game, the mechanics, lore a little bit before the new one comes out.
I have to push us through the rundown a little bit because I got another show I got to get to after this, and so I got to speed through some things. But Matt, I do want to hear your take on that Rats. Is it a prequel series?
Yes. Do not watch that show until you have finished season 4. Okay. Because literally in the first 2 minutes, there is a massive spoiler that happens at the end of season 4. So if you don't want to know, like I've seen some people like they literally pick up right where season 4 ends with Ciri. Yeah. And for those who we can get into spoilers, right? Yeah. Leo Bonhart.
I haven't seen it. Sorry.
Wait. The end of season 4 though, you saw.
Oh yes.
Okay. So Leo Bonhart like just eviscerates the rats, and so literally it picks up right from there when they're on the cart. So like if you haven't seen what happened there, you're literally, oh, okay, this is where we are now, and then it goes back in time and tells a story. But I will say, like, Jam, if you are looking for more Witcher stories, I know it's not animated, but the prequel I really enjoyed, and it is worth a watch. It's like an hour and like 20 minutes or whatever. It's actually a great Witcher story that's like someone down on his luck, and that seeing that arc and like how they can come back from that maybe is really cool. It's worth checking out. I recommend it. Again, if you liked the Rats portion of season 4. If you didn't, well then I don't know if it's enough to like warrant you jumping into it, but I enjoyed it.
all the mages and Yennefer gathering the sisterhood together, all that stuff I thought was really cool. Vilgefortz, I do think, is a great villain, and that was the story that I was most invested in this season
Sure.
by far. And I think part of it too is just because Vilgefortz is a guy that I know nothing about. As someone who has only played the video game, Wild Hunt 3, nothing before, Witcher 3, nothing before that. I don't know anything about Vilgefortz, and so it's really fun just being able to get surprised by everything that's happened, dive into the full depths of what his powers truly are. The one thing with Geralt's storyline that really didn't work for me, and really why like I said, I enjoyed it, but I wasn't compelled by it. I loved all the witchering we actually got, but the whole I need to get to Ciri, I need to get to Emir so I can free Ciri. That didn't work for me when, as the audience, we already know that she's not there. Because I'm sitting there thinking the whole story, like, okay, but don't do that. You're wasting time. Like, it just kind of felt like for me, since we already know that she's not there, if we didn't know she wasn't there, I would have been very compelled by the story. But knowing that she is not in Nilfgaard, she is somewhere else with the rats, it just kind of made me feel like, well, I don't care how this quest goes for you because you're questing to a finish line that has nothing there. And so if your quest goes wrong, good, because you're not going the right way anyways. Having said that, I did want to kind of, what's the squad's name again? I kind of forgot what they named themselves there.
Oh, the Hansa.
The Hansa, yes, thank you. I thought they were really cool. I knew nothing about Maria / Milva prior to this show, but our girl Menger Zhang, Zhu Zailing from Shang-Chi, she is incredible in this. She is so much fun. I love the way she delivers lines. It's just so fun and silly, and she delivers a quip, like a clapback quip, so well. That's something that she did really well in Shang-Chi, and something that she does really well in this also. Matt, what's the deal with Nimue, aka the Lady of the Lake, aka this story that is being told out of time back to our story that somehow is going to relate back to our story with the main character? I feel like I have a taste of what's going on, but I don't really know what's going on.
So that's where for those who haven't read the books, I kind of tease that, like, look, things are about to get bonkers with Ciri's powers, because she is, she did renounce them in season 3, and she does renounce them in the books, but it's not necessarily like, a true closing. It's kind of like a closing of the door is the best way I describe it. The door's still there. The thing on the other side of the door is still there. You've just cut off access to it until you are ready or must go through it for some reason, right? And so that's kind of been there, and that's why she doesn't use her powers in this season. But in season 5, at least in the books, things necessitate that and open up in a really big way, and she's able to really tap into, she's essentially known as, the person who can walk between time and space. That is kind of how crazy we get, and that brings us to the present, because the whole thing tying this whole season together is the story being told and her feeling like, okay, I'm a part of this story and I don't know how, right? That's kind of the whole running thing. And like at the end, it's kind of bookended by this whole thing, and you see her age, but then we come back around and you're like, now she's the one telling the story. And so that sets things up for season 5. The character, I'm really interested to see how they do this, because what I would assume would be like, we're going to have essentially like maybe an episode or 2 of everyone kind of still migrating to their place in the story. And it's probably going to all kind of coalesce at one particular location, Stiga Castle, which is what I would assume. And that's going to be like, okay, we've got all the players here, but how does Ciri get here? And that's where Nimue comes in. That's where she's going to be instrumental. And I don't know how spoiler you want me to get, but that's where from the books. But like, that's how
I think you nailed it perfectly. Of just kind of summarizing that.
Really trying
this is the character that will, even though this is generations ahead of the story being told, this is a character that will still somehow interact with our characters.
Yeah.
Is essentially it, which is, it's going to be exciting to find out, because she is someone also that you meet in the game twice, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to replay the game. Like, I have to. I like ahead of the Witcher 4 coming out. 2, watching this show just made me want to play the game again.
Same. It's next on my list. Like, as soon as I finish AC, I'm going to be re-downloading that, mostly so I can clear up storage space to actually download it. But then I'm going to re-download it and play it again.
As soon as whenever they talk about Avila, whenever they talk about, like, I was just like, oh God, I need to get back. Sorry, Jam, what were you saying?
You guys were talking about the girl, right? That was like the first scene or whatever. She was a young
she starts
kid,
out as a child.
Okay, yeah.
She's got the book and stories, and then at the end she comes back because she's very much like, hey, I'm going to Aretuza, right? And that tells you that Aretuza is back, because now we're set in the future, right? So that tells, because like at the time of Yennefer and Geralt, Aretuza is gone. It's been destroyed. The whole so that movement in time, it's like about, I think it's like in the 1300s, I think is what that present is. But yeah, so like she is going to play a role in what's happening in Geralt, Yennefer, and Ciri's story, and the how is where things get super trippy and fun.
Okay.
So yeah,
because in my memory, she was like a spirity nymph, and so I have no idea what's going to go on with Nimue, but I'm looking forward to finding out in future seasons. Jam, give me your final rating for The Witcher season 4, and where can the people find you on socials?
Season 4, I'm gonna stick with it at a 4, 3.5 out of 4, out of 5. That's out of 5, out of 5. So that's what I'm probably say 3.5 out of 4, 3.5, 4 out of 5. Only because again, it could be a terrible show, but that action was just got me. They got me with the action. So overall, I love the story. Loved the action. I thought Liam did great. Loved seeing Regis, or I should just say Lawrence Fishburne. But yeah, overall, I would say I'm gonna stick with a 4. Season 4, give it a 4. You can find me at Jam Session. Just replace the E with an X on all socials. I don't know if you guys can see this. That little bird will be my logo. You guys can see that there. My mom got this mug made for me, so I'm gonna use it all at all times. But yeah, Jam Session on all socials. Just replace the E with an X. And you can find some of my content, also like articles, on Agents of Fandom.
And that's why you got to check us out in video form so you can see Jam's adorable mug. And when you are, make sure you smash the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, subscribe to the Agents of Fandom wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us on agentsfandom.com, at Agents Fandom on TikTok and Twitter, Agents of Fandom on all the other socials. Matt, give us your rating for The Witcher. Where can the people find you on socials? Where can they find the Comic Book Nation podcast?
Yeah, so you can actually check out my full review for Witcher Season 4 on Comic Book right now. I gave it a 4. Spoiler alert. I gave it a 4, but I waxed poetic for a while and hundreds of words about why. But I enjoyed the season. This is one of my higher rated seasons, and I think they did great, especially with all the changes and everything like that going on in the background. You can find all of my work on Comic Book. You can also find us every single Friday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on YouTube and Twitch, the Comic Book YouTube page for Comic Book Nation, with my wonderful co-host Kofi Outlaw and Janelle Wheeler, and Evan Valentine's been joining us as well lately, and he's been fantastic. And then we will be talking all kinds of stuff this Friday. And then if you want to find me on socials, I'm most active on my Night of Oa on Blue Sky, but I do pop up on Instagram and Twitter, Matt Aguilar CB, if you ever want me, hit me up there.
Upcoming content here at the Agents of Fandom on the Agents of Fandom podcast. We got a lot of good movies coming up. And although it's a little bit of a dry spell for series here after The Witcher, it's not that long of a wait, and I got something I think we might mix in there in the meantime. But we'll have a review here on the podcast for Glenn Powell's new movie, The Running Man, for Avatar: Fire and Ash. Rumors are we're working on something for the series It's Welcome to Derry. We're gonna have a review for Wicked for Good here on the podcast. Ooh. Knives Out story, Wake Up Dead Man. And we'll be, of course, talking Stranger Things when it drops next month. This month now. We'll, of course, be talking Percy Jackson, The Olympians, when it drops next month. And then the following month in January, we are back on our Marvel bullshit with Wonder Man. So make sure you are subscribed, hit that notification bell and all the good things, because we got a lot of really great stuff coming for you. Thank you so much for tuning in today, everyone. On behalf of myself, Matt, and Jam, we will see you next time.